Today's scenic and leafy postcard comes from a village within a city. The city is London and the village is Dulwich in the county of Surrey. It says 1785 up there, so by my reckoning that's a bit Georgian, Gary.
Originally it would have been Georgian, 1785. Actually, this place was rebuilt in the 50s. Yeah, but to the original design. It had got a bit out of hand, it had got huge, it had extensions and it got a bit ugly. So when they rebuilt it back to the original design, and it's more like the house that was here in 1785 now than it's ever been, I think. But it's got the advantage of solid walls and windows that don't shake, and you know, we thought we were going to be freezing in there, and we've got the opposite problem. You know, it's really warm and comfortable.
This is Dulwich?
This is Dulwich. Bel Air House, Dulwich Village, yeah.
Who did it belong to before?
Originally a private house, back in 1785, somebody, I don't know, you know, some local bigwig, but the council took it over just after the war in the 50s, so I bought the lease from the council. They used it for antiques fairs, and the basement was for changing rooms for the park. Still got the toilets down there.
And a few old soccer kits.
We threw those out on the skip. Yeah.
Well, it's now a restaurant, a leading restaurant. I mean, I'd not been here before because being a Middlesex boy, you have this big thing, you never cross the Thames.
Yeah, people are either north or south, aren't they?
It's very much. Well, you're Yorkshire.
Yes, and which is a long way north.
And Lancashire's a little bit of a taboo, and yet you've worked so much for Granada Television over the years. I mean, when I came in, I mean, I'm not proud. I don't mind saying, but I know you, you're an actor. And you said, yes, and you're an astrologer. Yeah. But I've seen you in Coronation Street, I've seen you in Brass, I've seen you in loads and loads of stuff. So does this mean, like they say to me, because I'm going around doing travelling, you've given up the astrology? I've not given up the astrology, but I happen to prefer this. Same for you?
Yeah, people kind of think you do one thing, don't they?
I know they do.
Life's not like that. You know, there are changes and you do different things. I mean, no, definitely not retired. Keep telling my agent this. No, I did a big series for Channel 4 at Christmas, Melissa, and there are other things, you know, on the way. I took 6 months off to do this. And now, you know, I've got a manager who you've met. I mean, the place runs itself, in theory.
But you obviously love food, cooking. Is that why you chose a restaurant?
I love restaurants, and I love cooking. I'd never cook in a restaurant. That's a completely different thing. No, the building is what attracted me, because it was derelict when I took it over. And it was such a shame to see a building like this, in a place like this, going to waste. And also, there was actually nowhere in the area to eat when I first moved here.
And Dulwich needs food.
It needs somewhere to eat.
Yeah, I mean, Mrs. Thatcher's moved here in the past, but there's a few other well-knowns in Dulwich too.
Yeah, it's quite a wealthy area, but it's also got lots of young families, and you know, it needed a kind of, I wanted a community restaurant. It looks a bit daunting, but it isn't. You know, quite informal.
Now, I'll tell you immediately my observations on this little clapboard house, white. When you go in from New York, from Idlewild, shows how old I am, JFK, you see a lot of these type of houses along the road.
Yes.
And it's very, very similar.
Reason being, of course, local building material, New York State, woods, forests, everything else. Now here we've got a very big wood. The materials were used in the 18th century and before for this sort of construction. But then bricks became very popular in the Georgian period, and so we then had an outburst of Georgian building after 1750. There was a second bridge built across the Thames at Westminster, better roads, and so it meant that people that actually had businesses in the city could come out here quite quickly, even in the 18th century, by carriage, out here, live out here, rural surroundings, and then commute. So they're 18th century commuters.
So this was one of the original houses?
This was earlier. This is one of the original ones over here, if we go and have a look.
Yes, have a look. And that restaurant we were in, so that would have been part of the Georgian expansion,
Indeed it was. It was 1785, so that's sort of in this flush of the Georgian expansion down here.
And was that lived in by anyone particularly famous, or were they just wealthy?
The only notable person that would have lived there would have been the Spicer family, who were involved in paper making, but this house is very impressive.
It is.
This was built by Alderman Wright in 1767, and he was a millionaire. He was a stationer by profession and Lord Mayor of London. An absolutely beautiful house, as you can see. It was used for many years as one of the boarding houses of Dulwich College. But what has happened is that boarding numbers, of course, in boarding schools have got smaller, and so the boarding strength of the colleges has got smaller, whereas the day boy strength has enlarged. So they've actually passed now back into a family occupancy.
You know, local historians and authors like Brian Greene here in Dulwich are worth their weight in gold.
If you remember from Pickwick Papers, Dickens retired Samuel Pickwick to Dulwich, where I think the last few pages of Pickwick Papers say, and Mr. Pickwick is now retired to Dulwich, where he's frequently seen admiring the pictures in the local gallery, and so on, how he's admired by the local residents. Well, this is the house, we're just coming up to it now, that tradition has it that this was where Dickens had in mind that Pickwick was going to retire to. There's also an idea that the owner of this house at the time was a friend of Dickens.
Is this it here?
We're just coming up to it here. We're going to have a better view, I think, actually in the front gate, you'll see.
And there it is.
And there it is.
Look at this. A country cottage in London. Brian says he's absolutely right. And how many miles are we from London?
You're 5 miles from London.
5 miles from London. And look at this. This little nook and cranny we have here.
Yes, this is one of a group of 10 of these cottages which were actually built for a tile kiln, which is what used to stand behind me here. Not only tiles, but they used to make chimney pots and stuff like that. Floor tiles were a big thing, of course, in the Middle Ages. This tile kiln and clay pits were probably operating from the Middle Ages up until the 18th century.
This is a good point actually to talk about Dulwich as a whole, because you know, you think of Dulwich affluent.
Yes.
Was it always that way?
No, it was very poor until this Georgian expansion. Dulwich just about made ends meet because it was agricultural.
Oh, so it was just a village, was it?
Just very much a village, a small village too.
Yeah, and so when they came over, because if you look at the old maps of London, you see that the main growth in the south starts at Southwark, doesn't it?
Yes, Southwark was always a nucleus of habitation, Roman, as you know, and a market, and also the stews and the theatres and so forth, spreading over from the city. But it didn't spread much beyond Southwark. When you look at the maps, because there was a dense forest at the back of us here, very high, 360, 70 feet high in the forest. And so it was a fairly isolated rural hamlet.